All Hands Craft Cocktails is a new bar-strength canned cocktail. It's made with 6 times distilled vodka and 10% ABV, and that's to make sure that you never have to sacrifice the quality of your drink. All Hands Craft Cocktails is founded by Aggies and a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. The Aggies, 2 games last week, throttled DePaul 89-64. It's not often you get to use throttle in a description, but that's what they did against DePaul on Wednesday at Reed Arena, and as complete a victory for the Aggies. And then yesterday against Memphis, the comeback falls short. Memphis defeats A&M 81-75. That's a look back at the past week. And then coming up on Saturday at Toyota Center, it is a 1:30 tip between the Aggies and the Cougars, who are now ranked number 4 in the country. Arizona got every first-place vote except one, and that went to Houston. They fall a spot. They are now number 4 in the country. 1:30 is that tip. It's the second game of that doubleheader at Toyota Center, LSU and Texas before the Aggies and the Houston Cougars. 1 o'clock with our Dos Equis tip-off show. One thing that I wanted to bring up from something I did not get a chance to use in November, sitting down and talking with Buzz before our game at Virginia against the Cavaliers. And when you listen to this, it reminds me of something that John Wooden says all the time, that, and I believe it's a book that Swen Nader wrote about the life lessons of John Wooden. He said, "You haven't taught if you haven't learned." And as we were talking before that game against Virginia, it was the Aggies played 3 games in Orlando, and then Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and then the Wednesday game in Charlottesville against Virginia. What hit me was we talk about the physical preparation for games, but you don't always think about the mental preparation that it takes. 4 different schools, 4 different styles, if you will, in a compact time. And I loved what Buzz said. Wasn't able to use it in the pregame show for that, but I just had to save it because Buzz talks about the mental side, the words that you use, and teaching efficiently and effectively.
I try to be 100% accountable to what I say to our guys. Individually, when I watch clips with them, when I talk to them as a group, when I talk to them on the bus, when I talk to them in the locker room, I always tell our staff, the best communicators act as if they're being recorded at all times. And there's a lot of instances in our industry over the last few months where coaches are being recorded and didn't know it. And it wasn't because it was good stuff being said. But I tried to act like I'm constantly being recorded. So if you carried this microphone everywhere and you clipped out those edits and that became my radio show, would I be okay that Paul and Nani heard what I said when I wasn't talking to Monaco? And the reason why is not because I'm trying to watch my words in regards to the types of words. I'm trying to make sure that the words I'm using give our players their best chance when I can't talk to them on the floor. And I think when there's so much prep, they are 20, and they don't really have the paradigm to understand this question. And so I got to make sure that what I say is efficient, but that it's effective. Because like I tell them, guys, I'm not trying to give you a book report. I've already read the book. But it's not I'm in speech class, and now let me give you a speech on this book I read. I need to read the book so that what I tell you is what you need to know as a character in that book. And I've improved at it, and I'm trying to be better. I actually think what makes me worse is doing this, because I have to, well, let me back up, and let me explain, and let me give context. You don't have time for that in the heat of a fight. In the heat of a fight, hey, man, I need some salve on my eye. It's bleeding. Stop the bleeding, and what am I supposed to do the next time? And so I think this sort of schedule, 8 games in the month, 6 of those 8 on the road, it forces the old adults, hey, boil it down to the lowest common denominator. And kind of like Ron Holiday, my friend, the author, says, that's still too much. Cut it out again. That's too much. Cut it out again. And we're doing better. This prep is as unique as any prep in the United States. And our guys, we got home Monday morning at 3. We only did film on Monday afternoon. We practiced once yesterday, and then they were 25% better this morning in shoot-around. And I think our words have helped some degree, and hopefully our rep tonight will be 25% better too.
On that, talk with Buzz Williams just about that and that preparation and the words. And, again, the words of John Wooden, they always ring true. When we come back to the Buzz Williams Show, we're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Buzz joins me next. This is Aggie Basketball from Learfield. Howdy, Ags. Andrew Monaco here, inviting you all to visit Costa Vida Fresh Mexican Grill. Baja-style Mexican, made from scratch daily, serving breakfast tacos, lunch, and dinner. Maggie owned and operated by our friend Holly in South College Station. We continue with the Buzz Williams Show here at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. And we are in December. We head into week number 7 for this, coming off Memphis and DePaul this past week, but opened up with something that you said, Buzz. Howdy, first.
How you doing?
Foremost, I'm doing well, my friend.
You.
We talked about, and to me it's teaching and words we use that you use for the quote shirts and something a little different. But fascinating what you said in Virginia about the mental prep. And, Buzz, it does go back to John Wooden saying, I haven't taught if you haven't learned. You have learned over the course of your coaching career. It doesn't matter what you know. It matters what transfers to your players, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think coaches talk too much. Even my response to you, just listening to it, I'm like Corey always says, just hurry up and get to the point. I have to be better and more succinct with my words. I think our staff and I have been much more efficient and effective in that regard over the last 6 weeks. But it has also been a priority in our conversations in staff meetings. Let's just get to it, and let's make sure that what we're telling them is exactly what they need in between the lines. And I think the clips that we show, the numbers that we show, the things that we practice, we've been pretty accountable in those areas. And so we need to improve and continue to improve. But I do think in that category, we have done a better job in the first month and a half of the season than we have in the previous 4 years.
I love the example that you use in that you either have a 30-second timeout or immediate timeout, or you have to give a bit of information when the team's coming back on defense or offense. You don't have that 2-hour practice in the practice facility to do all that. So it has to be that reminder, and it has to register as well, correct?
And you need as many people, whether they're playing or not, to know the code, whatever those words are. Eli has been as good as I have ever seen from a guy who's not playing a lot of minutes, who has no experience here in picking up what we're trying to do, the words that we are associating with the execution of what we're trying to do. He's been through the roof good in that regard. We need, whether you're on the floor or not, we need the entire organization to have awareness, because it's not as if I can address every scenario in every possession at every timeout. We have it dispersed pretty broadly amongst our staff on the buckets that they're in charge of, but specific to a game, anything that players, managers, support staff can do from an understanding and comprehending what we're trying to accomplish in that moment in time is beneficial.
It's really fun to watch the bench. Let's say the other team is running a play, to watch them all stand up and say exactly what's being run and what the defense has to do. And then watching a practice and shoot around, when you ask a question, and it can be general, at times the younger players will say, well, the veterans will answer that. But now everybody answers, Buzz, so that's the confidence that I'm learning what you've been teaching me, is it not?
Bip was dramatically better with each passing week. Obviously, he missed this summer, so he missed a lot of the foundational buildup. But you can see improvement in his understanding and the importance of it. Rob Dockery, who we're redshirting, he's come light years in regards to just having an idea of what we're doing. And so regardless of who you are or how old you are or how long you've been here, you can help us in some sort of way. Jalen Lee, is 7,000 times better this December than he was last December on the floor, his impacting, helping us while he's not on the floor. So it's everybody.
Is it okay to give you the wrong answer? And the reason why I ask that, if you ask, okay, what are we in, and you get the wrong answer, if one person's wrong, that messes up the other four on the floor. Like, you don't want that all the time, correct? And you don't want a guy to shut down to say, oh, Buzz is going to yell at me if I don't get this right. But you have to have everybody understand what the concept is of what you're trying to do, correct?
I'm more mature in handling that than I was 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But I think it's because I try to hold myself accountable to being a better teacher than I was 12 or 15 years ago. And I think our staff we have decades of experience together now. And so the model that we once worked from early in my career, there's very few remnants of what we did in our first 5 years together, and in comparison to going on our fifth year here, no matter where they joined, without going through every single person and when they joined the train, so to say, their first 5 and their next 5, or the first half if they haven't been here 10 years, and the second half, however long they've been here. I think there's a much better understanding because it's all streamlined more effectively than it was early on.
The coach who's doing the same thing his first or her first 5 years and still doing it now probably isn't coaching now, right? You have to grow also.
I think, I think Vince Walden has a really vital role in what we do. And he said something to me today, and he didn't even know he said it. And I was like, oh, that's great growth. He said something to me yesterday during the game, and I was like, good for you. Thank you. That's right. But this is his 5th year here, and so it's not necessarily all about me or my comfort level. I've done better in adjusting to the strengths of others. In our household, we call it colors. I have colors. Baby has colors. We need to honor our colors. There's a lot of colors in our home, but there's a lot of colors in a program as well. And so how can we be honoring of those colors while at the same time, this year, I did it when I was at Virginia Tech. I've gotten to know an industrial psychologist, and I think how he goes about things and learning who someone is as good as I've ever seen, and I've studied that a lot throughout my career. But we brought him here for the first time since I've been at A&M in August before school started. And part of the purpose of that is for each of us within Team Bus One to better understand who we are, but more importantly to me, how we learn the best. And this guy, who I've developed a good relationship with, he said, so the players do it, and then the staff does it, and then I do it. Well, I've already done it, and I'm pretty aware of who I am. And I'm very aware of the staff because they've been with me for so long. But in this day and age, when your roster's with the volatility that it has, I wanted to better understand who we had and how they learn, because I think we have a chance to be really good. So I wanted to gain traction on that quicker. So he meets with the team and does the test, and then meets with the staff the same, meets with me the same. And then also including in the test is, test is probably the wrong word. What are the 5 most important things to you? It's kind of your values, so to say. What are the 5 most important things? Love, touch. I love to learn. That's my highest value. And so then he meets with each group and gives them the results. But then each group, he gives the results. So he goes to the staff and says, hey, now tell me what you think Buzz is. And then they say whatever they say. I'm not in there.
Right.
And then he goes, this is what he is. But then he does the same thing with me. Hey, Buzz, who are you coaching? Well, Four's this and Hen's this, and, just go through it. And he goes, yeah, this is who they are, and this is what's important to them. And the team that we have correlates very highly with my values, which speaks to the staff recruiting players that fit me. But how they're wired is the exact opposite of me.
Gotcha.
And so he tells me, this is going to be your most difficult year in regards to how you are wired and how they are wired. You guys are on the same page in regards to what's most important to you. That's good. And that's partly, I think, I would say I have the best relationships with our players that I've ever had with a group. But we're on opposite ends of the spectrums in regards to how to accomplish that. And so he tells me, this is in August, you need to start thinking through how you can be aware of yourself and how you're wired in relation to how they're wired and how they can notice that you're meeting them halfway. And all of those notes, it's like he's here a day and a half, and I spent 7 hours with him individually. And I'm a copyist note taker, and I have all of the notes, and my whole office is spot clean all the time. But all of those notes have been on my desk since August, and it's the only thing on my desk because I review them a lot. And I have made conscious efforts, and the players know, and they now hold me accountable to those things I'm trying to do to help them. But to their credit, they also are aware of me. And so when I get going on my wires, I think there's a little bit of grace in it. And so it's been good. And we're not there yet, but even today, how I spent my day specific to being with our guys, I've never done it in my career. It's a day off. What do I do on a day off? I gave 5 hours of my day away in a different way than I ever would, but I think it's the right play relative to who we are as a group.
Much more of the Buzz Williams Show from Rudy's when we return. This is Aggie basketball from Learfield. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to give you a VIP Aggie basketball fan experience this year. Go to 12man.com/maroon contest. That's where you register. Then one winner and a guest will receive game tickets, a VIP tour of Reed Arena, and you'll be recognized on the video board during the game. Register today at 12man.com/maroon contest. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is a proud partner of Texas A&M Athletics. Continuing with the Buzz Williams Show, we're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Last week, 2 games. DePaul yesterday, Memphis. Buzz, the DePaul win was as complete a victory as the Aggies have had this season, was it not?
I thought we played really well. 20 assists, 4 turnovers. We did a really, really good job on the offensive and defensive glass. It all looked prettier than it normally does because we made more shots than we typically do. It was good to be back home. It was good to be off the road. And I thought it was the first time we had somewhat of a break. We played Wednesday in Charlottesville, got home real early Thursday morning. We took Thursday off. We worked a little bit Friday morning. We worked a full day Saturday. We were off on Sunday. And then Monday got back to 2 days before. But just that was the first weekend we hadn't played all weekend. And it's the first weekend that we won't play or won't play again until the Christmas weekend. And so I don't necessarily think that a portion of the reason why we played so well is because of the break. But 8 games in the first 23 days of the season, with 6 of those including travel. That was a lot. And so I thought our maturity was very good in handling the break and then it coming to life in the execution during the game.
Everybody scored who was in that game, from Jace Carter playing for Boots to Jalen Lee at the very end in the joy.
And I thought Jay Lee played good. He's gotten a lot better.
We were joking with him, Dr. Thornton and I. He's grown in the last year. He's no longer 6'6", because John jokes. He says, now I'm eye to eye with him, and John's 6'8".
Some of our guys would argue in a silly way, but they wouldn't completely disagree. He's probably the best athlete in the program, and his body, he has gotten a little taller, but he's also gotten a lot stronger. And he has a really lean body, and he's been very consistent in his work on the court outside of practice, particularly this year. I think he's kind of in the 3rd semester of his college career. I think he's beginning to figure out, if you're going to have a chance, what is required. And he was never bad last year. It's just a lot for anybody, but it's a lot if you're a true freshman and you don't exactly know what's going on. But I think he's, month by month, he's continued to improve. And I think good things are in store for him, to be honest.
You watch a Jay Lee who's got, he's with the scout team, and then you watch the 40 minutes of basketball, and you think to yourself, my good gosh, Jay Lee tested our players more than the opposition.
He was just a guy on the scout team last year, and now he is the guy. Whoever their best player is, regardless of position, that's who he mimics. He can't always mimic them as well, but he's given us good pictures every day, and that's really helped the scout team, but it's also helped Jay Lee. And to your point, a byproduct is it helps us.
Yeah, it really does. Jace Carter was in for Boots. Now, you get Boots back yesterday. We'll talk about that a little bit, but it's always nice. You talked about Eli as well. That comfort factor after November and December. It's new for them also. Sometimes you try to find your way. And it doesn't, when I say this, I love to see that success because you see all the work that he's putting in. But it was good to see that from Jace and Eli who just fit in, and Bip who just fit in with this. Becomes so important, not just now, but then down the line.
Well, it's one of the things that I said in media. I'm not sure if you were there that day. It was last week, and I can't remember which gentleman asked the question, but, what do you think about the schedule after having lived the schedule? And there's a lot of good things. I think one of the things that is a hindrance to some degree, depending upon the lens you look at, when you play the schedule that we played, there's not much margin at all. And if the schedule that you play in those first 23 days, if you're not sleeping in your own bed and practicing at your own facility 11 of those 23 days, those new players, no matter their talent, it's going to be hard for them to get real minutes in a game of the magnitude we're playing because it's not exclusive to their talent. They're just behind in understanding what we're trying to accomplish, and they've never had to accomplish it at this level. And so one of the negatives, I think, in looking back is we missed more practice time because we were traveling, but they also missed all of their individual work. And when you're trying to figure out, to your point, your rotation going into conference play, there's going to be, no matter who they are, it'll change per year, but there's going to be guys who don't get a high volume of reps when you're playing the schedule we're playing. And it happened literally this past week. We're playing DePaul, and we scored 62 points in the first half. Thank you. It looked pretty. I'm glad we did good. Glad we're at home. Glad everybody's making shots for the first time all on the same day. Like, there's a lot of good things. But one of the best things is there's a little bit of a margin. It has nothing to do with their talent. there's a little bit of a margin. In the depth chart meeting, I was planning to play you these many minutes. That's going to be able to be extended tonight because of what we did in the first 100 minutes. Whereas you go into Sunday afternoon and you're down 10 at half and you're fighting and clawing to get it back to a 2-point game, 2 different occasions in the second half, and you can say, well, so-and-so's not making any shots. Yep, I agree. I wish he would make some.
Right.
But I'm not taking him out because there's not enough volume of reps for us as a unit to have confidence. Hey, just sub him in and let's see if he can make some. Yeah, but he's not going to be able to execute all of the things on both ends of the floor. And so that's always a delicate line because you do have to know, I've tried you enough, that's not working. Let's try somebody else. But when you're playing a top 30 team and you're not having the success that you want, there's not a margin. And so the same will be true this Saturday.
Yes.
We're playing the number 1 team in the country in the net, the number 1 defense in the country. 8 of the teams they've played haven't even scored 40 points. Like, that's when you play this sort of schedule. I understand it's a big boy schedule, but there's other components that you do fall behind on, and some of that there's no way to make up for.
More with Coach Buzz Williams when we return. It's the Buzz Williams Show from Rudy. Stay with us. This is Aggie basketball from Learfield. Join Aggie basketball at Reed Arena for Holiday Hoops running from December 6th. That was last week all the way through to January 7th. Discounted tickets are available. They start as low as $5 with a $3 women's basketball youth ticket option. Visit 12thman.com/bball tickets for more info and to buy your tickets today. We continue with the Buzz Williams Show from here at Rudy's. And we always talk 60 minutes, so you have to have one good question, and it's from Ian. So when they're not in the game, what do you want to see from your players on the bench?
Engaged with what's happening in between the lines, prepared in case their name is called, being the best cheerleaders in the arena, and being very active coming to and from timeouts if any timeouts happen while they're on the bench. That was a succinct answer, Ian.
He's doing well, huh? He's doing
Thanks question. For the rep.
I love watching our bench when it's a charge, when it's a
not
deflection.
Many of those anymore with the new rules.
With the new rule, Buzz, no, not many at all.
Not many socks.
No.
The administration will be proud of us in that budget line. We're not spending near as much money.
Was it Eli who took one on Wednesday?
I think Eli's leading our team. Eli has 3.
Yeah, and he knows he's
and they're hard to get.
Yeah. They really are. That's been one of the changes. But that joy for one another, Buzz, and you mentioned it a little bit before Sunday about that chemistry and that camaraderie of a team. Can't fake that. It cannot be faked, can it?
No, they've been tremendous in that regard. I think some of that comes from the truthfulness that they live with one another off the floor, because it's pretty apparent on the floor. I think we've had 41 practices so far. We've played 10 games. So I would have to think through how many times I've been in the film room with them. If we've had 10 games, that would be 20 times I've been in the film room with them. That doesn't count shoot around or anything game day related. But they speak the truth to one another when I'm around. And if they're speaking it at that high of a clip when I'm present, it means they're doing it when I'm not around, which I think there's carryover, and that will continue to increase and improve.
Ian, as always, thank you for the question. We'll continue with Buzz Williams. Couple more segments of the Buzz Williams Show. Come on back to Rudy's. This is Aggie basketball from Learfield. Rudy's.com. Place an order for their real Texas barbecue. Enjoy 100% oak smoked meats, delicious sides, and Rudy's signature sauce. And don't forget, Rudy's serves made-to-order and grab-and-go breakfast tacos every day until 10 a.m. And that is where we are, Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. 2 more segments of this edition of the Buzz Williams Show from here at Rudy's. Buzz, taking on Memphis yesterday, and the Tigers were everything that you said and more. And it's funny you say they're just outside now, receiving votes when it comes to the top 25. But you mentioned the athleticism. You mentioned, and I didn't want it to get lost when we talked in the pregame, that athleticism is not just on that offensive end, but it was also there on the defensive end. And sometimes people are like, well, the Aggies didn't shoot well. Yeah, that defense had a little bit to do with it, things like that. But good matchup, good learning experience for the Aggies?
Yeah, I thought they punched us, and we stood there. And they punched us again, and we stood there some more. As I mentioned to you after the game, that we were too inconsistent too often to beat a good team. Their roster is as good as there is. They've lost 2 games. They lost to Villanova in the championship in the Bahamas. They beat Missouri at Missouri by 15. They beat Arkansas. They beat Michigan. They played 2 guarantee games at home. They beat VCU at VCU on Wednesday when we beat DePaul. They lost to Ole Miss by 3 last Saturday, and they beat somebody else. I think I just mentioned 5. Obviously, they beat us. I did not think that we had the prerequisite level of intensity and fight that's required from start to finish to be in that game. I did not think we were awful. Mm-hmm. I did not think that we were great, but we weren't good enough in all of the things that we have to be good enough at. And we have early bird in the morning. I have it all broken down. You have to be careful. We have really good people who care, and I felt like yesterday it was eerily similar to when Texas Tech hit us at North Texas. And so we've got to make sure that we learn the lesson from yesterday, not only for a bigger, stronger, faster, more talented roster on Saturday, but we play, in essence, 1 game this week. We play 1 game next week. Mm-hmm. We play 1 game the following week. And so each of those games are important. But it's the last time that we will practice more than we will play the rest of the year. And so we need to address what transpired yesterday numerically, what transpired in regards to our big rocks that we felled on all 4. And then we need to learn for the last time the intensity required to play and have a chance in that game. We need to remove the effort and intensity piece for the next 12 weeks so that we can exclusively focus on the execution of what's required in that game. Yesterday, we didn't have the effort and intensity from start to finish that we have to have, and we never had the execution that we had to have. And we lost by 6. But we did poorly in our priorities, in our recipe, and we did poorly in the intensity and fight from start to finish that we have to have. And that's why the game felt choppy. That's why the game never had a rhythm. It's not going to have a rhythm because what we practice every day was not coming to life in the game long enough, often enough. To our point yesterday, that's why the game was not bent our way. Yeah, because they were bending it their way. And so now it feels like, oh, you're not in a rhythm. Oh, you're not making shots. Yeah, because they're hitting us figuratively. And we need to remove that. All of it is a figurative fight. So that's required. And now from the requirements of the fight, now what is your plan to win the fight? And we can't ever how we built this, in my opinion, zero ego in saying that. How we built this to this point is how we got beat yesterday. Okay, that's not good, and that needs to be nipped in the bud. And that's a reflection of everyone, including me. And so, you know, I'm big on quotes.
Yeah.
And most of the quotes, my ninth grade English teacher, who probably is listening to this show, would be disappointed. They're fragmented sentences. I know, Miss Weatherly, it's not a complex sentence. I know. And so I never put a period because I know it's not a sentence. And that's to honor her colors. And I only write fragmented sentences on my board in my office. And it's just things that I'm studying, things I'm thinking about, trying to, like good preachers, I got some ideas for a sermon. I just don't, I gotta figure out how to cook it. And so when I have an idea, I write it up there. And 2 weeks ago, I wrote and put a cloud around it. Don't forget to remember. Don't forget to remember where we were 2 years ago. Don't forget to remember we didn't go to the NCAA tournament. Don't forget to remember we were 6-5 at Christmas last year. Don't forget to remember we went 15-3 in the SEC. Don't forget to remember yesterday we had won 14 games in a row at home. Don't forget to remember that yesterday entering the game we were 13 in the net. Don't forget to remember. And you could almost say that. I say that a lot to myself so I can hopefully be a better dad, so I can hopefully be a better husband. Because the world moves so fast. That's why I like some of these people that are here. I don't think the world moves as fast for them, not because they're old. I think the world doesn't move as fast for them because they know what's most important.
Right.
And sometimes I think we try to outsmart ourselves and let the pace carry us away, and we forget to remember. Yesterday, we forgot. And tomorrow, we need to remember. And we can't get so caught up in the big rocks that we forget we got to fight. Because when we came back from Christmas last year, there wasn't a lot of strategy going on. We better learn how to fight.
Yeah.
And I feel convicted by that on me as a leader. You get to, let's overcoach and we got this and let's say it like that. Hey, man, how about you step in here and try to hit somebody? Mm-hmm. And when you get hit, how are you going to respond? So there's a delicate balance of that because in truth, if you're going to be really good in anything, you have to be able to do both. You're not going to get your job just by saying, man, I'll work really hard. I'll work baseball and football and the basketball coaches show and the basketball games when football's not playing, and then I'll go here and then I'll go there. No. Yes, it's a prerequisite, Monaco. Whatever that job pays, you have to work really, really hard. Okay, so if you don't want to fight, then work really hard. You don't get that job. You have to do both. You have to work really, really hard. That's not an expectation. That's a requirement. And you have to be really skilled, and you have to study, and you have to know how to ask questions, and you have to know how to go in and out of a commercial break, and you got to talk to that guy, and you got to watch the time, and you got to be able to do all of it so that when Thornton sits down, coach thinks he's like, I just put on the microphone like Buzz does, and you just want me to talk? Coach, there's a lot going on in this, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. You have to be able to do both. Last night we didn't do both, and you're going to lose because we're not playing. We're only playing teams that want us to play on Sunday at 3 on ESPN. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's not on your phone, ESPN Plus. That ain't what it said next to the score. No, it's on ESPN. Well, who are you playing Saturday? I don't know. It's on ESPN 2. Yeah, it's not on Plus. It's not streaming. Okay, you have to have both. And not saying working hard is not important. It's required. Buzz, you work so hard. Okay, what do you want me to do? There's not a choice. Mr. Assistant Coach, I work really hard. That's all I do. Okay, well, where are you going to go? And that's not what you're going to do if you're going to be able to keep your job, right? You have to do both. Our players have to do both. Buzz has to do both.
Last segment, Buzz Williams Show, and we return. This is Aggie basketball from Learfield. Our final segment of the Buzz Williams Show as we wrap things up from Rudy's. Customize your Aggie basketball experience at Reed Arena this season with a flex pack. For men's basketball, create a 4-game SEC pack. You can also create a 4-game women's basketball pack with any home games of your choice. Customize your flex pack today at 12thman.com/bball tickets or call 888-99-AGGIE. That's 12thman.com/bball tickets to buy your Aggie basketball flex pack today. Buzz is working the crowd. We're wrapping up this show. No, you stay there. He got one final shot in, too, today, didn't he, about basketball and football? We will see you on Saturday, Toyota Center, 1:30, 1 o'clock, Dos Equis tip-off show. Kevin Benchow is our engineer. Ethan Sargent, once again, our producer.
Thanks and
Buzz.
gig 'em.
Thanks and gig 'em, Buzz. This is Aggie basketball from Learfield.